Hello. So now I'll be talking about stationary points. So stationary points occur when f prime of x equals 0, and here are some examples of what that would look like. And a maximum point is a type of stationary point where the same rule applies. F prime of x equals 0. There is one exception to that, but I'll get there later. So once you set f prime of x to 0, you have to do a test of to make sure you know if it's a maximum point, because it could be a minimum point or a stationary point of inflection. So first you can do the first derivative test, where you can go a little bit to the right and you want to test if that's negative. And then you go a little bit to the left and then you test if that's positive. And if that's the case, then that's a maximum point. And you can also do the second derivative test, where you look at the rate of change of the first derivative, and if the first derivative is decreasing, or which also means the second derivative is less than 0, then you also have a maximum point. Now here's some terms: global and local. A global maximum point occurs when f of x at a certain x position is greater than all other values of f of x, but this does not apply to infinity. You cannot, so if you do have a function, you can't say that the global maximum is infinity. However, if you do have domain restrictions like this, you can say that the edge of the domain is a maximum point, but that's not a stationary point because f prime of x is not 0. Okay, and for local points, f of x is greater than the immediate left and right, such as this point right here. And so for minimum points, the same thing applies, but sort of the opposite, where when you go to when you're testing for it, when you go to the left, f prime of x has to be negative, and when you go to the right, f prime of x has to be positive, and for the double or the second derivative, f double prime of x has to be more than 0 because the first derivative is increasing. Okay, and also stationary point is the stationary point of inflection. So this occurs also when f prime of x is 0, but in this case, when you do the first derivative test, you'll find that you'll get both left and right as positive, or both left and right as negative, like this, shown by the green lines. And whenever you have that situation, your point is going to be a stationary point of inflection. And with the second derivative, f double prime of x is going to be 0, as at that point the slope is not changing. And for global and local, for the minimum point, the same rules apply, but in the opposite. So just one thing to get out of this is essentially, when you get a stationary point, how to test for what it is with the first and second derivative test, but also something important here about how domain restrictions work and how you can also get a maximum or minimum from the edge of the domain. Thank you.